Hi, this is Corey Vaughn. I'm one of the sales managers here at Mike Patton Auto Family in LaGrange, Georgia, and I'm answering a question that was brought to me by a friend of mine, Crystal. I asked my friends to give me some questions that they would ask of a dealer if they could get an honest response for the question, and I would post some videos to kind of explain that to them. So I wanted to start with the first one we got, which is how a dealer determines a trade value. And I want to start off, since this is the first video, and just explain a little bit about myself. I'm a sales manager here at Mike Patton Auto Family in LaGrange, Georgia. One of the things that's a little bit different about us versus a traditional dealership is we are a one-price dealer, which basically means that as opposed to your normal negotiating and back and forth and haggling that honestly most people don't appreciate really anymore in the car buying marketplace, we give the best price we can up front. We make sure that we back that up with a price guarantee. And in the aspect of what we're going to be talking about today, a trade-in, the number that's presented as a trade offer is also an offer to purchase, which basically means very similar to CarMax. Whatever we tell you we will give you for your car, we will write you a check for that, really whether you buy a car from us or not. So you know that it is a real valid number, not necessarily a trade allowance or an over allowance that you may see from other dealerships. Now, to answer the question of how a car dealer determines a trade value, there's really three parts to that I want to address. The first is really how we come up with the number, where the number comes from and how we get there. The second is some of the book values and consumer values that can be seen from various different sources. And then the third is how the number can be presented to you as a consumer, just so you know exactly what to expect if you do go shopping or you want to trade your car pretty soon and are using this as a reference. So the first thing to address is, how does a dealer come up with the number that they want to offer as on your trade? That thankfully is a very simple process. The one thing that can be difficult for a consumer, and I personally am guilty of this as well, is when you're looking at trading a vehicle in, you are trading one commodity for another. Your commodity that you have is the vehicle you're trading that the dealer is purchasing, and the other commodity involved is the vehicle that you're purchasing that the dealer is selling. So you have to, at times, detach a little bit of the personal feelings we have for it. I drive a minivan. I brought my daughter home from the hospital in it, so I'm going to like it likely more than the person that I'm going to trade it in with, and I understand that. So as far as coming up with the number, the way that the dealer does this is really just the same as any other commodity, whether it's a television or a house, is what does the retail marketplace look like? What will I have to spend on the vehicle to get it ready for the next person that buys it? And what is the profit margin that I'm going to allow on the commodity, in this case, the car that we're trading in? So for the example of this video, I've chosen a 2014 Honda Accord EXL 4-cylinder, 4-door car, which is a pretty common vehicle in the marketplace and is one that we will look to take in on trade, honestly, probably pretty frequently over the next calendar year or so. So the average 2014 Accord has around 20,000 miles on it and an average retail price of $22,300 based on that mileage. The one that we're considering for this example has 38,200 miles on it, which would really put its average retail price at about $21,000. Now, again, making sure that we have our prices discounted for the next buyer, we would need to be below average. So likely our retail price, since we would not negotiate from a higher number and give you the best price we can up front, would likely be right at $20,000 or maybe a little bit under that because of the higher mileage versus what else is out there in the marketplace. So we would take that retail price, we would deduct reconditioning. Now, in our dealership, we average about $1,400 to $1,600 per vehicle that we take in on trade before it goes out to the front line for the next person that buys it. However, we've got a 2014 Accord, and because of the mileage, it may need tires to be replaced and a couple other mechanical maintenance items that shouldn't be very expensive. So our reconditioning costs would likely be somewhere around $1,000 to have it mechanically inspected and up to 100% standards, and of course cleaned and waxed and ready to go for the next person that buys it. So when you buy it as the second purchaser, you don't have anything to worry about. It's just like buying a brand new vehicle for you. The second thing I want to discuss with coming up with a trade-in value for a customer of ours is the book values that are out there for really everyone to see. Now, when I say everyone, I mean dealers as well as consumers. There's some information that's a little more readily available than others, and I want to make sure to kind of go through that. Again, we're looking at a 2014 Honda Accord EXL with just over 38,000 miles on it, and you can't see them, but I've written some of the values that some of the books that are out there placed on this vehicle. The black book trade-in value for this car is $17,600. Kelley Blue Book values the vehicle at $17,431. NADA, which is another guide, says the trade-in value should be $17,100. So you can see all of those numbers are around $17,000 to $17,500. The auction average for this vehicle with similar miles is around $17,500. So you've got a little bit of variance there, but it sounds like all the numbers are somewhere around $17,000 to $17,500. And remember, we said that the retail price would be somewhere around $20,000. Now, one thing that I want to make sure anyone watching this video knows and understands, and I mentioned it briefly in the beginning, is the difference between an offer to purchase and a trade allowance. I know that everyone has heard commercials offering $3,000, $5,000 over some of these book values for your trade-in. And one thing to just be cautious of if you're going to go shopping for a vehicle and you have a trade involved is to make sure you let the dealership know that you want to get an offer to purchase your vehicle. You want to know what they will buy it from you for, write you a check for, pay you cash for, not so much what they will allow you on the car. That way you know you're dealing with real numbers. Because there are some times where if you're not so much concerned about the other aspects of the purchase, getting a really impressive trade-in offer could not be so impressive when you get to the end of the transaction, and that's what we're going to talk about last. So based on the numbers that we reviewed earlier, as far as the retail market of the car, and kind of pulling backwards from there to get to what we would offer on the vehicle, our offer would likely be somewhere between $17,500 and $18,000 for this 2014 Honda. Now that would be presented as an offer to purchase, and as far as I know, the only other two places that you can easily get an offer to purchase on your vehicle. One, of course, is CarMax. And like I said, as far as the ways we buy vehicles, is very similar to the way they operate there. And Auto Trader has a feature called Trade-in Marketplace that will also give you an actual offer to purchase on your car. In this example, Auto Trader's Trade-in Marketplace made an offer of $17,032 on the Accord that we're talking about today. Now, next, I want to go through how the numbers are presented and just some things to be cautious of when going out and shopping for a car if you have a trade-in, kind of the last piece of the puzzle on how a dealer comes up with a trade number. The last thing I want to discuss is how a number for a trade-in can be presented to a customer. Now, again, I stated before, the way that we price our vehicles, we discount everything as far as we can up front. So you may see we're talking about trading a Honda Accord. You may be looking at a Honda Odyssey because you have an expanding family. So we would have a discount on that car, let's say of $5,700. That would not affect your trade-in at all. However, you may be shopping at a dealership that negotiates the price of the car, and they could have an addendum and start at an MSRP plus that addendum potentially, or offer you some discounts, and again, like we discussed earlier, $3,000 over book value for your trade. So I want to make sure that anyone listening to this, obviously my friends included, kind of would know what to expect if they went out to shop for a car. You'll hear a lot of people, and I'm certainly one of them because of really where I work and wanting to make sure that you can kind of steer through some of the funny numbers that you get when shopping for a car, is make sure again to ask for an offer to purchase if you have a trade-in. That really could be a starting point if you're concerned about the trade value when you go to purchase a car. You could start with, I need to know what my trade-in is worth, what my trade-in value is before we get started. So if you have a dealership that's running an ad that says they'll give you $5,000 over book value for your trade, but that only applies to certain vehicles in stock, you can see how it's not necessarily a real offer on your trade-in. So the way that we would present the number is, like I've said a couple of times, you will have an offer to purchase on the car, which is something that we would write you a check for whether you bought the car from us or not. if you are dealing with someone that is wanting to potentially move numbers around, you'd have to be careful about that and make sure that you notice the difference between a trade allowance and an offer to purchase on the car. So hopefully that has answered your question, Crystal, and helped out anybody else that may be interested in kind of knowing that. If you have any questions at all, or you need to want to discuss this further with me, you can call me here at the dealership. My number is 706-298-6951, or you can email me at the address listed below. Thank you again, and hopefully that answers your question. And next week, we will answer another question with another video. Thank you again.